Today on the Tim Marner podcast show, we've got Coach Tom Blackledge in. Coach Tom Blackledge, what are you coaching, mate?
Originally I was a fight coach and martial arts coach.
Yeah.
But I also coach development, personal development, a lot of mindset stuff. And
Where did that come from?
well, martial arts. So I've been really fortunate in that literally all my life from being a young teenager has been entrenched in martial arts. In martial arts, like a lot of the ethos of all of martial arts is development, right? And philosophy. And then if you get into philosophy and you delve into philosophy, obviously I was exposed to a lot of the Eastern philosophers and all these kind of spiritual teachings because of martial arts like Zen Buddhism in the Japanese realms.
And not a lot of people take that on, though, do they? That side of it.
No, not really. But then I was obviously inspired by the people who taught me, my sensei and the other people in the martial arts. And then also I was inspired by famous martial artists like Bruce Lee. Now, Bruce Lee's very much into philosophy. He was very much into a philosophy called Taoism. And he would write a lot of things that he would sit and think about. He would take Confucius teachings or the I Ching and things like this. He would read a lot of that, and then he would put that across, and me as a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kid would be exposed to it. The difficulty when you get exposed to philosophies like this, it's very difficult to take the things out. It's like there's so much information within one page of a book. Like I always espouse Marcus Aurelius' meditations, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about in depth more, or a lot of these Stoic philosophies. But when you start getting into philosophy, when I was young, there's so much information within small paragraphs of the writings, of the thoughts, of the teachings, that you have to really dig in and delve in like a mustard seed of just like there's so much in there that it'd expand, and it takes a long time.
But at 15, 16, you get exposed to this and you're taking that on board and try to actually decipher the actual...
So you see, for me there as a kid, as 16, 17, 18, whatever, and continuously.
Were you lost at that time? Where would you say you were as a...
Oh yeah, very much so. And I've
looking for something to call your culture, your tribe, your...
Yeah, something just pulling me, really. Knowing who I was inside and knowing... And I don't believe you sort of reach that until you find the people around you who can help push you to it, and the vulnerability to accept who you are.
That's a beautiful way to put it, mate. The vulnerability to accept it and not let your ego...
Yeah, because you feel... Like I espouse vulnerability a lot to people. Like obviously, like you said before about on my social media posts and things like this. I want people to understand that you can be vulnerable. It's not about being soft. I think I'm fortunate I've had good leaders, good role models, and people who I would look to and think, you're a good man. I want to emulate these good things of you. When I'm not exposed to them people, I found them other people in books or in other media that I think you carry yourself well. Like I said about Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee would appeal to me at 16 because he was very good at fighting and martial arts. But he also spoke very intelligently and wrote very well about things that would interest me and make me think on a deeper level.
At 16?
16, 17, 18... and more so on.
Do you not think that's unusual? Do you look back on it and think that's quite unusual to actually take that deeper way of thinking at 16?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, but I've also got to be open and be like, look, I wouldn't have the understanding that I do now of it. You know, it's easy to look back on our lives as who we are now and think that we were that person. I was nothing like I am now. You know, to have spent all that time and be the same person so many years on would be a real waste of time, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you see these things. There's a quote, I use it a lot when I'm writing or speaking, from a Stoic called Heraclitus. And this is, no man steps in the same river twice. because you're not the same man, and it's not the same river. Like the river is consistently changing, and so is the man. Like the river is changing like this, right? Well, we are the same, or we should be the same. So every time that you read a book or you get exposed to a philosophy, it's going to resonate very differently because your experiences have been different, and you understand on a deeper level, and you can delve deeper into that teaching. And I think, obviously at 16, 17, 18, I didn't know what I was reading. You know, I didn't understand.
But you knew there was something that touched you.
But there's certain things, and it's like, okay, people are telling me to read this book. Why? I'll read it and see why. What can I get? You know, you read Memento, the Book of Five Rings. It's going to be a very different book at 16 than it is at 30 and 40 and 50 and carrying on, depending on.
Is that the Japanese swordsman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like the best swordsman. Of the time of the year.
It was, and I believe he was into calligraphy and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was very artistic, and he became that good. He would go about and fight with things they call them bokkens. They were wooden samurai swords, and he would kill people with the wooden swords, and while they had real katana.
He was that good.
He was that good, yeah. He was that practiced and well versed, and but obviously being exposed to them kind of things for a very long time really helps to create a good landscape for growth.
A really good landscape for growth.
Yeah.
So did you attach yourself to something like Taoism or Buddhism or Stoicism? You know, have you decided that, look, I love this way of thinking more than others, or do you?
Yeah, like Stoicism is probably the philosophy that I embody the most. I feel like it provides an exceptional framework for modern day life.
Can you talk to me a little bit on Stoicism and just give me a sort of like a dummy's guide?
So Stoicism is a Greek-Roman philosophy. Mm-hmm. People confuse it with the word Stoic.
Yeah.
People think Stoic is free of emotion. You're just emotionless.
Yeah.
This is where it gets confusing for people. Stoicism isn't about being free of emotion. It's about being free of the negative emotion. It's about being free and not engaging in like jealousy and envy and self-pity and all these other things that you feel that create pain for us. It's about being in control of your emotion, really. Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he took some of these Stoic tenets and he put them in the book. And one of them is about response and reaction. Between stimulus and response is a space, and in that space lies our power to respond. That's a very Stoic tenet, in that if we are shouted at, or if there's something happening emotionally, we have an opportunity to react, which is going to be a negative response. Someone shouts at us, we shout back. We meet violence with violence, force with force. Fire just creates more fire, right? We're meeting in that way. That's a reaction. Or we have the power to respond, and I can create a space and control my emotions so I don't act emotively towards whatever it is that you're doing towards me, or whatever the action is. But I take charge of what's happening in my response, because that's the only thing that I can control. And that's a very Stoic tenet, in that we concern ourselves with the things that we can control, not external events.
Yeah. I love the premise of Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, literally could indulge in any pleasure that he could. He literally get anything he wanted, have anybody killed, and didn't. And wrote this series of journals that were just for him. No expectations from it. I'm just thinking, oh my God, this guy could have had anything he wanted and didn't give in to pleasure. I'm like, what? Wow.
Yeah.
Like, behind closed doors, he was living in integrity. I'm like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's a decent
but
guy.
Isn't that's like Stoicism at its core, in that, can you carry yourself with virtue? Because I'll say this to everybody, like when I'm coaching fighters and athletes, or just on personal development, you can lie and kid and pretend to anybody except one person,
yourself,
right?
man.
Yourself, because you'll wake up and you'll go, I'm a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
And you'll say, I'm not living the life that I should be living,
Yeah.
right? So when you start living like this, you become impenetrable, really, because you can't bribe me with anything, you can't blackmail me with anything, you know. You see a lot of the great leaders, the great presidents of the past, they've followed the many tenets of Stoicism and wanting to follow in that path. The great thing with Marcus Aurelius is you get two Stoics. You've got Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at the time, and then another Stoic who I really like is a man called Epictetus. He was a former slave, had his leg broke, and then became a teacher, and he became free of being a slave, but had nothing. So you've got two literal ends.
One come from trauma and
who was still able,
right.
And yet he was Marcus Aurelius was brought up to become an emperor.
Weird, I've reposted some of Epictetus's quotes and I never actually know who he is.
Right, yeah. So
they really resonated with me
Yeah.
when he's saying it. I feel that he's come from trauma a little bit. I don't know if I've attached myself to that a little bit more than Marcus Aurelius's stuff.
Yeah, well,
even though it's the same.
They can have the same. Obviously, they have the same philosophy because they're the Stoics. These are like the main Stoics, really. Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius are two of the main ones that people would refer to and read. The great thing is that they're from very different places. The wisdom comes from very different places, and yet they're both instilling the same virtue and the same character. That obviously, like Stoicism, strangely, is a lot about you'll be forgotten. Why are you so bothered about concern of anything? Because you've gone. When you die, you've got a couple of generations, right? People are upset like for a very short period of time, and then life just goes on, and people like prevent themselves from doing things. People think when I talk about this, and I speak about you will die, like
it's like fuck you, Tom.
The Stoics had a phrase, memento mori. It's like remember you will die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you bothering yourself for? Worrying about the opinion of others.
Yeah. What's the Latin again? What is it?
Memento mori. Remember you must die, or you will die. Right. They used to have a coin, with them, and they keep the coin as a reminder. Because once we know this, we all know we're going to die. Mm-hmm. But I think we all think we're going to either live forever or be remembered forever. Right? And ironically, it's Marcus Aurelius 2,000 years later is still remembered and spoke about frequently. He goes on about this a lot, like we all go to the same place. Even he has a line in Meditations where he's talking about Alexander the Great. He's like, Alexander the Great, his chariot driver, they're both in the same place. They're both in the ground, dead and forgotten. And it's like you think about he was the singer just recently died, didn't he?
From
One Direction, the young lad. And for a couple of days, people going, oh no, and then there's no mention again. People are just forgotten. We're all forgotten very quickly. And our loved ones obviously care for us, but within a couple of generations, we're forgotten too. And it's not a negative, that's a positive. Stop being bothered. Stop being so afraid of making a mistake. Stop being so afraid of like fucking things up. That's what we're here to do. You fail, and then you'll find all your success and your happiness and just be happy with who you are. Stop trying to live your life in accordance with other people's expectations of you. You've got it yourself there, just be you.
When did the personal development coach come in? Were you a Brazilian BJJ coach, and then all of a sudden was there a shift? Was there a point where? So I was
a martial art. I was teaching martial arts from being very young. I was like 18 when I first started teaching. I was really fortunate. Like I'm really indebted to my original sensei. Sensei in Japanese martial arts is teacher. He really opened the doors for me to live the life that I'm blessed to live now. So I'm always in gratitude to him all the time. I was teaching at a very young age. I got a black belt. I've got a lot of black belts in different martial arts because that was my life. I sacrificed financial abundance at the time to follow a life of martial arts, right? And so I started teaching from very young, but it was always about, like I said, martial arts. It wasn't just about fighting. That's where people misconstrue a lot of the things. They don't delve into the development side of it. Obviously, then that got me into philosophy. Philosophy literally translates as the love of wisdom.
Didn't know what.
Right. So now when I got into philosophy, I'm reading all this stuff because of martial arts, what led me there. And then I get exposed to all of this. Philosophy is the precursor to what's now known as personal or self-development. Everything you read in self-development and personal development from all of the greats is pretty much all taken from previous years of philosophy and then put into a context that people can understand. I've always found that I was gifted, and I would practice too, in that I could take difficult concepts and spend the time to break these down and understand them. And when I would take a difficult concept and break it down and make it easy for someone else to understand. And so that they don't have to spend the time to really delve into something like this and make it
relevant to their situation,
to that situation that they're
their
in.
experience.
So that I would always find that people would come to me all the time, and as a coach, it's difficult because you build strong relationships with people, and then you care about these people, like close. Like you look at Clamp and I would do anything for that guy, and me, I know it too. So it's like there's that closeness and that care of like this familial bond.
Beautiful, mate, connection.
Yeah. That nothing would get in the way of. But then sometimes even then you'll still get other people who I get close bonds with, who just need me for a little bit of time, for that moment of something. And so I've had people come and they'd be crying, and I'd be able to explain to them my advice. Not saying that I'm always correct or anything, but I would always try and help and be a shoulder to cry on. And so it sort of led along that path. And then I wrote the book. The book took me quite a long time to write, which I lost my way a little bit too. Like I haven't really spoken about this that much, but I was on a path of martial arts and things like this, and I became a professional fighter and fought in the UFC and did all the bits and travelled the world, and I lost my way a little bit, like we all do and we all should do.
What was the reason for that, Tom?
Ego. I think in a deeper sense, the reason was because I learned so much. Like everything that happens to us for a reason. Like Nietzsche says, like amor fati, for the love of fate. I have to embrace the things that happened to me because they were the things that taught me all the best lessons.
For the love of fate.
For the love of fate, yeah. Like to understand that everything that happens to you for a reason, to teach you things. You've got to love what happens and embrace these things. We think these are all negative things when they're happening. But now I'm pretty good at removing myself from thinking the situation is removed on that. You know, there's a...
It's hard, isn't it, changing that victim mentality, that these things are happening to me, but changing it so these things are happening for me.
For me, yeah.
To do that, to change that perspective in your mind if you've always been through the...
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said this victim mentality.
Yeah.
People sometimes think I'm mean, right? Or, like I said before, emotionless because of Stoicism, right? There's another Stoic, Michel de Montaigne. He says... he talks about this in one of his writings, and he says about, you want to, obviously I'm bastardizing the quote here, it's obviously not as prophetic as he wrote it, but he says you want to like have empathy for someone, but you don't want to sit and be embroiled in the self-pity, and you know.
Does that become sympathy then? Empathy, does that turn into sympathy if you do that?
Well, I think you need to be careful of letting, like, because there's a great quote that self-pity is a vice, it's not a virtue, right? And how many people say, it's not fair for me. It's so hard, right? And a lot of the time, they don't need someone to sit and go, it is hard for you, right? We search for sympathy when we're kids, don't we? If you ever think back to kids, when we're kids, man, I need to give me some sympathy, and you got a little cut on your arm. I remember doing it when I was a kid, right? You want a plaster, you want some sympathy, you want attention. It doesn't get rid of the issue, right? And it's the same for us now. Like, feeling sorry for yourself doesn't serve you. This victim mindset doesn't serve you. But more importantly, it doesn't serve anybody else. And that's one of the main key components of life, is being in service. And most of us get pulled into this self-pity. I feel sorry for myself. It's so hard for me. Why is it harder for you than it is for anybody else? I will tell you now, people have overcome much more than what you're going through at the minute. So it's not good to just sit and go, it's so hard for me. Because if we think we can't do anything, we probably won't.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's really important to not get pulled into self-pity, feeling sorry for yourself. And I'd hold my hands up, and I've done it loads of times, and that's why I know. Right? And that's why I know. But you need people around you who will say to you,
you're doing that.
Stop feeling sorry for yourself, though. And that's someone who truly loves you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? That's someone who, if someone loves you, like, really loves you, they're all right with you not loving them. They're all right with you not liking them. That if I said to you, if I say I love you, I want nothing but the best for you. I want you to be at your best. Well, I have to be willing for you to not like me now. Because if you're doing things that I don't think support your growth, you probably might fall out with me a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
now,
you're going to trigger me, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. Now, if you're drinking a lot,
yeah,
right? And I know that drinking, we all know that drinking doesn't serve a good purpose, does it?
No.
Right? Ever. It doesn't serve a purpose. It's proven how negative alcohol is on your life. But somehow we accept it. And that's fine, if that's what you want to do. But if you're prone to being a bit depressed, or you're prone to being an overthinker, and then prone to not doing the things that you should do to live the most successful life that you want, and you're drinking, and I don't say to you, stop drinking, or I don't show concern, I'm saying, you're drinking a lot and then you're depressed now, or you're not performing at your best. But I know if I say it to you, you're going to be a little bit offended. Your first reaction is going to be a bit of offense and a bit of mind your own business and a bit of I'll do what I want. You're going to be upset at me. But if I'm a true friend, if I'm someone who cares for you, I'm going to be totally honest and accept the fact that you might fall out with me, but I love you enough to say, you're drinking a lot, stop. This isn't serving you. Or anything, or any experience like this, is you know, it takes a good friend to tell you these things.
Not somebody's going to enable you and make that drinking all right.
Make it all right. Come on and have a drink.
I understand what you're
Come on, have a drink. Come on this weekend, let's go and have a line and do all this.
Yeah, no.
These ain't your friends then. They're not your friends. They're enablers, right? These people are trying to justify their behaviour. If they're going out every weekend, they want to justify their behaviour by bringing you in with them. But that isn't the path to love, friendship, care, or progress, or happiness at all.
You said before about being of service.
Yeah.
Right. Really interesting, that one, isn't it? That I think we all should be in service, and I do believe I need to do more of being in service. What is that, Tom? What is being of service mean?
Okay, I think there's lots of ways that we can all be in service to someone, isn't there? And I think if ever you look at successful people, they've all made an effort to create a better environment for others, or to help someone, or be there for someone. And like we were saying there about the self-pity, this navel-gazing thing, and looking, oh, it's so hard for me, but you aren't giving or helping anybody. And I think, like in the academy, as an example, we have a thing that we have in the academy, that there's an amount of the budget is in giving free memberships to people who can't currently afford to do it. Sometimes it really works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? Like I always say, if you can't afford, if I'll speak with certain people, and I've always said, I've done this always, if you can't afford it, I'll pay it. When you get back on your feet, you start paying. Sometimes people love doing that and they'll remember it forever.
Yeah.
And not that I do it for anything. I don't do it for people to remember.
For the expectation.
Yeah. There's no expectation.
You do need just to be in service.
I want to be in service to help, because I know what not only I provide, but the academy, the people in that building,
and what that philosophy
and
of
what
that
it brings of the people. It's not even me; it's the people in that academy. That's what provides these other people, this community. We have to be careful sometimes when we start doing that, because people sometimes have a perceived value on something. Now, if it's free, it's worthless. So then it's having to, how do I then pass this message on that I want to help you, but also by helping you, I also need to make you understand there's still got to be an inherent cost in what I give you.
energy for energy.
Yeah. Because I can't just let you take, because I'm not teaching you anything then, because you're just taking. You need to know that there's going to be a time I want you to give back to somebody else. I want you to support somebody else the way that you're being supported by everybody here now. And these are important teachings. That you won't find happiness if you just take off people.
Yeah.
You've got to be giving it back at some point. You don't need to give it now. You might not have anything to give now, so that's why we would give. There's a lot of, anyone who's successful, they're always filled with philanthropy, aren't they? They always support people all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think that is really important. Like the reason for me putting a lot of the stuff online, like filming the videos and like you were talking about before, there's like a lot of content. Like
Bolton stuff, mate, what you're doing, you know, like I said to you, I'm not just blowing smoke at your ass. They're inspiring, mate, honestly. They're really good fucking value from integrity, from a place of goodness. You just know you're a decent guy when you watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And I put them on. There's a few reasons, really. And sometimes, like I'm like anybody else, I sometimes would have days of doubt or questioning. And I think, can I be asked? Because it takes a long time. Yeah. You know, I have to think of something. I could speak quite freely and openly, obviously, as I am now. But
you want to get a point across.
But the whole problem with social media is you've got to make it very fast, haven't you, so that people will listen. One of my original meanings for doing it was because Marcus Aurelius, one of the rules that I have in the academy, I took from Marcus Aurelius. And it's never be overheard complaining, not even to yourself. And this goes back to the self-pity and what feeling sorry for yourself again. But never be overheard complaining. And I always try and embody that ethos in my life for a long time. And I was complaining about social media. And I was like, this is shit. This is just people with fake money, fake friends, and fake things. Look at me, what I've got.
If that's what you're looking for.
Right? Yeah. And I thought, this is no use. I don't want my son to watch this. I don't want the kids that I coach to see this and think that this is all it is. I'm like, this is rubbish. And then I thought, you're going against your one rule. You don't complain, because complaining just begets more complaining. You either find a solution or you shut up. And so then I thought, okay, well, what would be the solution then? I thought, well, I have a lot of knowledge on certain things, the things that I'm knowledgeable about, I'll put out there and see how that goes. Because I always get people who would talk to me about wanting to kill themselves, or really struggling with certain things. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, I'll do that. I'll just do that. I'll just put this stuff out there. Because I coach people anyway. People come to me and I coach them anyway. It's part of my business. Yeah. Well, I'll just give this content for free. Maybe someone one day watches one of them things and goes, I'm not going to do that stupid thing.
Beautiful intention.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I started.
Perfect.
And then you'd get days sometimes. I used to have some days where I would be like, what's the point? And you do a video and it's on 800 views or something. And you think, that content here is so powerful, but yet it's not being seen, but there's only 800 people seeing it or something, right? Yeah. And I think, why? And I'd be a bit disheartened, and I think, do you know what? And then I'd just meditate and I'd speak and I'd say, you're going to need to give me a sign here that this is the path that you want me to be going down.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of time and effort, and I'm feeling, is anyone here? Right?
Honestly, I've got a few t-shirts with this on.
Yeah, right? And I'm like, you're going to have to give me a sign, right? And as much as I love doing the content, like I love doing it, it helps me because I've just got journals and journals of notes and things that I always just go through. I think someone might speak to me in person and say something to me and ask me. And I think, do you know what? Like, you're struggling with this, and I've just really helped you with that. Maybe there's other people struggling like with the same thing. So then it's good I make the content, I like it, but it's time consuming, as I'm sure you know. And so then I think, you know what? You need to give me a sign if you want me to do this. And I'm thinking, because it's taking up a bit too much time, and I want to spend the time doing this in my businesses, or becoming a little bit selfish, maybe, you know. And I get, like I say, I am no sage. I have to constantly work on myself. And then I'll ask for a sign, and then the odd times that I've done it, I've been given very powerful signs.
Like what?
I have to be careful because I might even be a bit emotional here.
It's fine, mate, go on.
But there was one time I got a message off someone.
Yeah.
And it was someone I actually knew them. I have messages a lot. But every day probably I get a message off someone about a video that resonated with them. But this one time I told someone off a little bit, and they'd put a status online, and I hope they don't mind me saying this story. I'm sure they don't. I won't mention who it was or anything. But I commented and I said, stop it off speaking like this. And I was quite stern in what I'd said. But again, it was a thing of...
From intention.
It's from...
Exactly.
Look, these people, it's okay. Like if ever you put a negative post on Facebook, it gets 10 times the likes and comments doesn't it? All the time.
Yeah.
All these well-intentioned people. Well, I put on the exact opposite of what anyone else would put. I'm like, stop with all this bullshit. Take charge. And then he deactivated his account. And I messaged him, and he didn't open my message. And I thought, oh shit, have I gone too far here? Have I pushed too much? And then a few days after, I'm sat there and I'm speaking, and I'm like, you're going to have to give me a message here that this is the right path. And when I looked, I got a message, and it was a picture of what I'd wrote, and he'd wrote it down. And it was like, you don't know how close I was until you did that. And I was like, you know, the fact that you can feel that.
Yeah, well.
He's like,
yeah.
And he said, my parents are so happy. You said, man, I was like, oh, you know, a powerful moment. And that bit is always that moment where I think, wow, you know, to get someone to be so vulnerable and me question, was I right? To get that message, it was like,
beautiful, mate.
No,
beautiful.
And it's funny, like to feel that emotion. I still feel that emotion now, and it's like a happiness and a relief at the same time.
Yeah.
And a bit of maybe pride. Not that I want to hold pride, but to feel that feeling.
Yeah, fulfillment.
From a few years back, I can still feel that emotion that it hit me, and I remember where I was when I read it.
Yeah,
and it was like to think that someone's parents would watch and think, wow, you know, and I think someone could have made a terrible mistake that day, but he didn't, you know. And
at that point, did you know you found your thing? Did you, like, because that's a very fulfilling moment, that, mate, where, look, you don't want to hold pride, you don't want to hold that ego and stuff, but in that moment, you know that you'd saved someone's life. Fucking hell, Tom. Come on.
Yeah. I think because because of that moment, it spurred me back on. And then I got so many more after the fact.
Yeah.
Off others.
You got to present it to you because you were ready.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I think I'd had them before then, but that one just really resonated.
Yeah. Big test that for you, that, weren't it, that? Get them 2 days where you're second guessing yourself and stuff.
Yeah, because I don't care about other people's opinions.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate in that I've really took that on board. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't judge anybody ever. You won't hear me gossip about people and judge them.
Mm-hmm.
And so but that also makes me very free in that I don't care if people gossip or judge me. Because I know that those who judge and who gossip are judging themselves. Like it says in the Bible, remove thy being from thine own eye. Right? We judge and it comes back on us tenfold. Right? So I don't ever get worried about other people's opinions on me. I'm just who I am, and I won't pretend that I'm anything that I'm not. But I'm not fully immune. Like I say, I'm no sage, I'm no guru, I'm not anything special. Yeah. And there were times whilst I was doing this where I would think, people are going to think, who am I to speak in this way? Because they don't know what I've gone through in all my life. They don't know my studies. They don't know how diligent I am. There's only, realistically, my wife and a couple of very close people who understand how diligent I am and how diligent I've been for so very long, in that I read and study and practice these things that I espouse all the time.
Do you call that living in integrity? Did you ever think of it on that? It's just I was talking to somebody else about it, like my spiritual guide, my sage who I go to for that advice, she lives in integrity, mate. I mean, like, doesn't say a bad word about anybody, eats the right fit, just everything she does is just about aligning her chakras, just making sure that she's aligned with everything. Do you do that?
I live the life that I espouse to people, yeah. But also, like I say, I am no sage. Like the Stoics would refer to a sage as like someone who is like way up there.
Yeah.
But they would refer to them as like one in billions.
Yeah.
It's a very rare occurrence that you're going to come across.
Yeah. I've met that person. That person's in my life.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, when you meet them...
Like light healers, mate.
Yeah. But then, to live in that way...
Yeah.
There's very few people who can do it.
Yeah.
Very few. Like I live in...
Agree.
I follow my path. I follow the things that I espouse. I don't bullshit people. Like... But... I don't think I stick to it 100% of the time, all the time, always.
Yeah,
I'm very close.
Yeah,
but I'm also human, and I'm
got to live in this
right. And there's,
shit.
Yeah, there's things that happen.
Yeah.
Right, that one day I can't do the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah,
maybe I react when I wanted to respond,
mm-hmm.
and I can look back and be like, that's where I need a bit of growth, or this is where I was upset at something, and I don't want to be upset at anything. I don't want to be able to be manipulated in that way, right? And it's like knowing that it's very difficult to sort of live that life wholly, completely. I don't bullshit anybody. I don't pretend, right, that I'm a spiritual guru or...
You're just very impeccable with your word, mate, aren't you?
Yeah, I will...
A man of your word.
Yeah.
Which is rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I carry myself... I just carry myself in the way that I feel is a good way for a man to carry himself. I think... Again, going back to social media, I feel like most people aren't capable or... Yeah, maybe aren't capable... Beware of false idols is probably what I would say for social media. These people that are on there, people, they don't understand, like men especially, but I think everybody, I think all of us, we don't know who to look to. And we're looking for guides. Yeah. And we're looking for people, and they're all false prophets.
There's a song, Pink Floyd, and they say, when did your heroes turn into ghosts? And it's like, look, heroes used to be Superman and Batman and things, and now kids' heroes are somebody on TikTok who's gone viral.
Well, I wrote a post on this on my site a few years back. I can't remember what I titled it, but it was just a thought, amusing is what I had of, like, when I was a kid, Optimus Prime was my hero, you know, He-Man. Yeah. These strong role models. Yeah. Right? Who protected people. Yeah. Who lived with virtue but these all of these, if you ever watch these old cartoons from back in the day, the stories are taken from thousands of years back, just repurposed and repackaged.
100%, mate.
Right? Yeah. Nowadays, they've got just people on TikTok. People don't watch kids' TVs, cartoon shows, or they don't watch these things anymore. Yeah. They see just, like you're saying, people who I believe haven't got strong characters. Or
they've not developed them characters,
because they haven't had, and they haven't been taught how to develop these characters. Yeah. And I think it's really important that as leaders or any position that we have, that we can help guide these people. I think it's sad because you look, it's so easily pushed out there of this thing of like, well, how easy that people get manipulated. How easy that people take on the thoughts and colours of other people without even putting a little barrier there.
Yeah, questioning, asking why.
Yeah. And it's getting worse and worse, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, like, you get into politics and people, like, I don't pass my opinion on politics to anybody. It's irrelevant. Yeah. But what I do find interesting is when people just decide that they don't like somebody just because.
Yeah, just because.
Like in the UK, just today and yesterday, everyone talking about Donald Trump. Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. I'm like, what do you not like? If I was to ask you what do you not like in his policies, I bet you couldn't tell me one thing. You just deciding you don't like him because that's what the mainstream media is saying. You shouldn't like him. Yeah. You know, I'm not saying if I like him or not. That's irrelevant. What I'm saying is you should form your own opinion. I remember with Andrew Tate, I disagree with a lot of the things that he might say or the way that he says it, the way that he might lead some of our youth to think or speak. But I don't dislike him because I got told to dislike him. I don't think he's a bad man at all from a lot of the things that he talks about. He talks pretty straightforward a lot of the time. Yeah. But I went and made my own decision and watched him for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, and I know and understand that when he's going to do a podcast, he's getting sound bites. He's doing things on purpose to play a character, but he's also right on some of the things that he talks about. Mm-hmm. That's not to say again that I back him as a good guy or a bad guy or any opinion. Yeah. But it's like I will form my own opinion and keep that to myself and not have to try and change other people's opinion. Yeah. Like, I don't like the fact that people are so easily swayed by social media, and we've always had that. It's not like it's just social media. Yeah. We've had the news and we've had all the other bits what are altering people's perspectives, and we can see how easily manipulated we all get from press just a few years back in 2020. Right now, I think when we see these things, like we're saying, going back to the idol thing, like who's showing these people how to live, not how to create a better society, and
who was showing them the way.
We're short of people who are willing, and that's the other thing. People think, what's the point? Why am I like I was like I still, like I say, I still get them times where I think, what's the point here? Yeah, and I'll write a book, and then I'm like, I'm writing a book. I'm like, a lot of these people wouldn't read the book, or listen to the book.
It's not sexy enough. It takes too long to do.
Too long. It's going to take a bit of work.
You have to read a book, a full book. Yeah. Well, it's an audio book. I've got to listen to it for an hour. Yeah. I've got time for that. Like Wingstop, man.
I want it 30 seconds.
Fucking plays at Wingstop. Yeah. Fuck that. I'm taking this on Instagram. Wingstop bitches.
It's popular at Wingstop, isn't it?
Fucking love Wingstop.
I took my son there the other week.
I mean, I just tell people to watch Star Wars, me. I'm like, go and watch Star Wars. The fucking lessons you can get from Star Wars. My heroes were fucking Ben Kenobi and fucking Yoda. Well, I'm like, kick-ass, man.
I'm like a massive Star Wars fan.
Oh, yeah, right, sick.
Yeah, like massive Star Wars. Anyone who knows me
right
knows how much I love Star Wars. Yeah. I've got like the Millennium Falcon artwork on my wall at home.
Yeah. But the story, the cave and Luke going into the cave, that's a story gone back fucking centuries, right back to Greek myth.
George Lucas took a lot of Star Wars from a philosopher called Joseph Campbell. Now, I refer to Joseph Campbell quite a bit in some of my writings and certain public talks that I do.
Yeah. What's Joseph Campbell?
The cave you fear to enter holds
right.
the treasure you seek.
Which is that scene in the cave, innit?
And then it's the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks about a lot, and that's what Luke is. Right. It's like there's a status, there's a steps.
Which goes back to King Arthur as well, doesn't it? King Arthur.
All of these stories. It's all this hero's journey.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like there's steps to it.
It's not given to you.
That you have to go through. You meet an elder who's your teacher, who's your guide. They die, you take the role, you step up, and all these other little
beautiful
things.
Mate, beautiful. Yeah, forgot about that hero's journey.
Yeah, but Star Wars, George Lucas was so smart with some of the stuff that he put in. But if you look, he's got like lots of like Stoic tenets, Buddhism. Like he'll take a lot of them things and he's put them into the Jedi folklore. Really.
Yeah.
If you never watched Star Wars, like watch episode 1 to 6 and then stop.
Yeah.
Don't watch the others.
Yeah, let's not get into that song.
Yeah.
To just like. That was my sort of masculine sort of role model brought up. My dad wasn't around and I watched that and I was like you when you were, Bruce Lee was talking to you, I was like, there's something here that really resonates with me. Obviously, looking back now, I'm like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Like, the lessons that I've learned from that. Yeah. About not having emotion, don't give in to anger because anger leads to the dark side.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my sweet God, you know what I mean? Controlling myself, that person said that's triggered me. What do I want to do? Get emotional? I just sit in that and ask myself why I got triggered. I'm like, all right, okay, I'll do that. And I'm like, I got the answer. It's not about him, it's about me.
Well, I actually refer to Star Wars in the book.
Deal.
And I talk about Star Wars in the book, I talk about Yoda. I had 2 bits that I was going to put in. I was going to put in the fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate.
Yeah, man.
All them bits.
Why didn't you put that in?
Because I didn't want to put too much Star Wars in, because it would just be about Star Wars.
Come on.
But what I did put in is, because it didn't... did I put that in as well? I can't remember. I don't think I did. I think I took it out. But I also put in about trying. I don't like the word try, and so
do.
We don't try, we do. And I mentioned Yoda saying to Luke,
there is no try.
There is no try, there is only do. Like, and that Luke tries to pull the X-Wing out of the swamp, and he's going, it's impossible, rocks is easy, but this is impossible. And he says, that's why you fail, because you think it's impossible. And he says, I'll try. And he went, that's why you fail. So I write about that in the book, about what they insinuate by saying, I try, instead of I'll do, you know.
I need to read a book now, don't I?
You do, yeah.
I didn't even know you had a fucking book.
Yeah.
Sam goes to me like, have you done a bit of research on someone? I went, no, I just wanted a good conversation with you. Watched a couple of videos, I didn't want to watch any more. I just wanted to sit here and just kind of see what type of man you are and stuff, and your insight on life. Fucking incredible, mate. You as a voice out there, you know, I'm not saying look, drowning the noise out. Well, I am saying drown the noise out, but you know, the biggest service you are is doing these videos online. It's your biggest service.
Yeah, I think obviously I get to go out and speak on stage to loads of people. I have a really, really close friend, James Birkin. I get the opportunity to speak alongside him on these events. He's an amazing business coach, and just really a brilliant guy, really, just very, very close friend of mine. we get to go out, and he has an event called Master Your Life. And I go and speak at this event, and I speak different things, like different events get different keynotes from me, different speaks, different speeches from me. One of them is the Fearless by Design talk, which is from the book, keynotes from the book, and a little bit extra bits. All these bits are so rewarding, and helping people develop stronger mindsets and understand. And like going back to when I said about getting that message and the emotion, obviously, that was in that message, like the understanding of Stoicism, why I like Stoicism so much is people sort of want relief after the fact, don't they? They struggle mentally, they struggle with the mental health, they find it really difficult. But after the fact, they've been out partying, they've not been doing the things they should do, they haven't been living the life they should live. Stoicism is like, you don't do it after the fact, you do it before. Yeah. You're building yourself already. You're building that resilience already, so you don't get to that point.
Getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah,
when it's nice and warm.
You're already taking care of. You're building your resilience. You're building your strength. You're building your mental strength up through practice already. So then on them days when it's bad, it won't cripple you. It won't destroy you. It won't break you down because you've already done the work. That's the hard bit too. It's that consistency. Like your consistent effort compounds, doesn't it? Like understanding compounding on a financial sense. It's just the same in life. Yeah. Like if you can be consistent, it's going to compound. If you're consistent with your studies, with your practice, your meditation, building this in
keeping
a citadel,
up the discipline when the motivations
run
out.
Yeah, just keeping that going, making these habits form. That's the key. That's like the part, and that's the hard bit to explain to people when I get them messages that are filled with such emotion. It's like they're powerful. Like that one I mentioned then is the one that triggers me every time. If I speak about that, you'll get me emotional because I know them personally too, and I know what they went through, and I know the family and the good people, and like that's always going to trigger an emotion in me because I can always go back to that moment. Yeah. I still get so many other messages of people that is so nice. Like and I always try and say, like, if I can help anybody, message me, and if I have the opportunity to message you back, I 100% will. I'll make sure that I can try and maybe just provide an opinion. I'm not saying I can sort it out for you, but sometimes.
An opinion or a perspective?
Is what?
Well, I don't know. When you say that, is it an opinion you're giving or is it a perspective that you're giving?
Well, it can be either, can't it?
Don't know. Like, what is that difference?
Well, so it's like what would be, to be able to alter your perspective. The Stoics have a phrase in philosophy. It's Aristotelian, really. It's not even Stoic, but the Stoics embraced it a lot. Would be to remove yourself from it, take yourself away. Like all these things that we go through. Yeah. Like how bad they feel to us, but imagine if it wasn't you, if you could remove yourself from that situation and watch. What would your opinion be of it then? Would it be so heartbreaking? Would it be so devastating? Would it be so bad if you were to watch someone else? And the philosophers referred to it like as looking up, and then if you were even to look at ants, so that everyone was the size of an ant, and you would look, you wouldn't even think about them problems, would you? And to embrace that perspective. Wow. How powerful that is if you can learn how to use and embrace that perspective of saying, okay, let me remove myself. And I use this a lot with the people that I coach in mindset and fighters, to be fair, to understand, just remove yourself from that situation. It's like in a fallout, like if you fall out with somebody and we're very resistant to view things from someone else's perspective, aren't we? Very resistant, I think when we're arguing or falling out, we think we're always right because we get so offended or upset. But we can't view it, well, what would you feel? Why did you behave in that way? Why would you act? So if I remove myself and now I'm just a guy and you're just a guy and I'm over here watching, well, now I can gauge much better an opinion from a different perspective.
Right. Good way you put it, mate.
Yeah. So I can see what's without emotion.
Yeah.
You know, emotion gets in our way a lot of the time, doesn't it? With a lot of things.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. Because like I was talking at the start, it's the difference between response and reaction. And
the amount of work to get to that place, though, mate, is it.
And that's what, as we go back, that's what I was saying. So you do your work now, while everything's good, right? You reap your harvest now. You work now. You work. You build up, and you build ready for the winter. What's coming? Because we all have a winter. Sometimes we have a long winter. Sometimes we have a short winter. But we all have winters in our lives, right? Be ready for winter. Right?
Because it's coming.
Because it's coming. Yeah. Because it will always come.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be times of winter.
Yeah.
Always. In whatever you're doing in life, in business, in love, in relationships, whatever you're doing, you're going to have a time of winter. You're going to have the dark, the night time that comes. How long that lasts will depend on what you do before. What's your harvest going to be, what you're reaping, what you're sowing. Right? All that is before. If you're in that point, that's where you build now. You build your resilience now by being able to do these things. You practice and you practice and you practice.
And practice and practice and practice.
And you be consistent, right? And your consistent effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, competence breeds confidence. And you become competent at doing these tasks all the time. You become confident to face the tasks that you know is going to be out. You become confident to face the winter for as long a period as it's going to be, because you've already built the parts that you need to take you through this difficult period. And it's important to be able to get to that point. But you want to do that by building now. This is where I think a lot of people struggle in understanding happiness in life. Like, if I was to ask you where your happiness came from, it would probably be from your day-to-day life of doing what you like doing, of building, of creating, of being a podcast or your business. And people don't understand that. The Greeks would term that eudaimonic. You live in an eudaimonia with, like, it's how you're living your purpose in your life and going through.
Eudaimonia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And then the other type of happiness is hedonic happiness, instant gratification. Right. No. Like, our lives.
Pleasure.
Is pleasure. Yeah. But we need bits of that in our life. You can't live and not have any of that kind of pleasure. But at the minute, we're really focused on a lot of that. And none of the other.
Yeah, instant boom.
Yeah,
boom.
like pleasure comes from
dopamine,
building,
dopamine.
Yeah. It's not in the end.
Yeah.
The end.
Like I said to you before, I do a lot of wild camping and hiking. I don't get any pleasure from it, but I get a lot of joy from it.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it. It's hard, it's brutal. I'm climbing 900 meters, but there is a joy in it that I just can't explain to anybody else. A satisfaction, a fulfillment, a connection with myself that I'm helping connect with other people within that. I don't want the pleasure. I've done search for that one in my 20s. I didn't like myself.
Well, you can't find it, can you?
No, I was looking for it and thinking that pleasure's going to bring me happiness.
Yeah.
So fuck all doing it. I'm like, I can't believe this. I feel like when I got to my 40s, like I've untrained my mind of everything that I taught myself over them years. Now I've got to untrain my mind of everything that I thought.
Yeah. But isn't that now? That's going to obviously be a part of who you are. You have to teach people these things. I got shown that in one of my meditations, that I need to show people when I am meditating and film my meditations and film everything that I'm doing. Yeah.
And on the thing so I can share it with other people. Because I've been through that bit. And like you said, you've had a different journey. I do feel my philosophy is the same as yours.
Yeah.
Like you said about Epictetus and it would just come from two different things. I've got to drown out the noise my way. You've got to drown out the noise your way. And we're on this journey to be in service
Yeah.
Which is beautiful, mate. I need to do more of it. You are like, wow. You're doing these talks. You're doing. I don't want to blow smoke up your ass, Tom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But honestly, mate, it's amazing what you're doing. The jiu-jitsu club, doing these free things. It's wow. You're like totally in service, mate, and living the 90% integrity. Wow.
Yeah. I try.
You don't try.
No.
You're doing, mate.
I do, yeah.
You do.
Like,
Do you get the imposter syndrome? When I'm saying that now, like, do you not get attached to it and you're just like, are you like, shut the fuck up? Or are you like, do you take that?
No, you know, like, so it's quite hard, really. And it comes across, sometimes it can come across as rude. But it's like, if I'm to take compliments,
Yeah.
then I'm going to have to take criticism,
Yeah.
right? So I'm always mindful in what I take. Don't get me wrong, it's nice when people give you praise, isn't it? But I have to understand where it goes.
Yeah.
Because if I let that fully in, then I have no choice, but I've got to take the other side of the blade, haven't I?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And if I put so much focus on like, or even if I let myself take in this praise, my ego and pride take over. Like, yeah, I am really that good. I am amazing, right? And I think I'm infallible. And that's not me at my best. If my ego's taking charge, that's not me at the best. So I'm always mindful in that I'm very grateful. I have so many nice comments all the time. And I would be lying if I said it didn't mean anything to me, because it really does. Because it helps me, because obviously gratitude is such an important part, and when people show me gratitude, it would be ignorant of me to not accept it gracefully. But I'm also mindful of too many compliments just because.
Yeah.
You know, I think I write about this in my new book. It's not out. It's not going to be out for quite a long time yet, but so you'll get a little insight here. But one of the rules in the academy that I have for the athletes, this is slightly off tangent, so I'm not saying this is you either, just so you understand what I mean, but it's a good segue into it, because it'll be a good lesson for people to take on board in life. But one of the rules is beware insidiousness that I have for the athletes in the gym.
What do you mean?
So you'll have seen this, I'm sure, in business. I've seen it in business, but I've really seen it in martial arts and fighting. And it harkens back to Star Wars, you see. So I have a Star Wars thing in this.
Right? You've got me, mate.
So when I say beware insidiousness, if you get someone who's on the cusp of being really good, so take Clamp,
Yeah.
you know Clamp, right?
Yeah.
Just an amazing guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's
Legit.
fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I just love the guy.
Shout out Clumpy. Love you,
Right.
mate.
Yeah. He's obviously he's a world champ for a reason. But when you're on that path, so let's take Clamp, they're at 6-0 or whatever, undefeated amateur, undefeated pro, lined up to be a superstar. I'm not saying this is what happened to him. Just
I get it.
But this is what happens to people a lot. Some people will see him or see him, a fighter in that position, and think, oh, he might be going somewhere in.
I'll have a bit of that.
I'm going to have a bit of that. You know what you should be doing? They start speaking in their ear. Is it Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings to the king? Yeah, right? You know what you should be doing? Whispering in their ear. You should have this, you should have this. And they start talking to their ego and to their pride, and they manipulate them. And they start telling them these little things that you should be having this.
Yeah.
Right?
This person's getting this much money, you should be getting that.
Right. Now, if we link it back to Star Wars,
Yeah.
what's the whole story of Star Wars? The reason that I say beware of insidiousness is the Emperor is called Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
Right? He's called Darth Sidious for this purpose. He's insidious.
Didn't know, mate. Love it already.
Right?
Yeah.
His whole purpose is to convert Anakin
To
to the dark side. Right? And he does this when you watch from episode, not that I want to spoil it for anybody if you've never
Don't
watched
care.
Star
It's not
Wars.
about them.
Right? But if you watch Palpatine,
Yeah.
Darth Sidious,
Yeah.
is manipulating Anakin because he knows how powerful he is. And he manipulates him to the point that he can own him and be a part of him and already have his hooks in by the time he becomes his Jedi. He knows that the Jedi Council, as wrong as some of the behaviours may be, would have a plan for Anakin to become this Jedi and to live freely. Darth Sidious is saying to him, "What do you mean they haven't made you a master?" And he's like, "Yeah, but they don't do that yet because
I was already thinking
like,
that.
No.
The ego was already telling me that.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, well, you should be a master by now. They give you this grade, but you're not a master Jedi. They made you a member of the council, but you're not a master," and all these things. And he speaks to him. If you watch the film, he does a lot of this manipulation all the way through, right? And even then, to the end, where he becomes Darth Vader, and he puts him into this robot suit, gives him these robot legs that he's in control of, puts him in all the sort of technology. He manipulates him. He owns him. And he entices him by saying, "What, you're scared that she's going to die? Well, I could save you. I could save you.
I got killed for death."
Yeah. Well, now I've got to save him. I've got to protect him.
Yeah.
And it's like, that happens in life all the time. I've seen it loads of times.
Yeah.
And I've seen it really derail people.
Yeah.
Because they think, because pride's really easy, ego's really easy to manipulate, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
all always
Yeah.
have to be aware that our egos get manipulated.
Yeah.
That our egos, that
Yeah.
very much so. Very much so. Like I said.
Beautiful teaching this, mate, you know?
Yeah.
Never even thought of that.
Yeah, well, that's the...
It's fucking happened to me
hidden
loads
meaning.
of times.
Yeah. And that's why I have the rules in the academy. Now, when I have these rules, some of the guys wouldn't understand. You might get some fighters come in and they'll be like, right, you'll see yourself in success. Success leaves clues, right? You can follow teachings of people. You can watch the lives of where they went right and where they went wrong. Like I said, for that rule of beware of insidiousness, it's very easy to manipulate someone if you can get a hold of their ego.
Yeah.
And they think, yeah, I am that good.
I'll inflate that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I have to be careful all the time. Like I am, and this is the difficulty bit, and this is the bit that I try and think about, like, how can I be grateful for someone saying to me, "I really like your content, you've really helped me, your stuff's really good, your book's amazing, I did this." And be truly grateful, because I am really grateful, that's the thing, but it's being grateful for it.
Yeah.
But
Not
also
being aware of.
But also knowing I can't let that build my ego. I can let it build my confidence to a point.
Yeah.
Because it obviously means that people want this stuff from me. But I also have to know I can't let it manipulate me to the point of insidiousness.
Fucking hell, it's good.
Like,
So,
yeah.
fucking hell, that was good, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, fire. That motherfucker's got me a few times, like, and I've had to fucking double check it.
Many
Many times, mate, I've had to look at myself in the mirror and fucking have a word with myself. Hey, literally, as well. Like, whoa, it's happening again. You're doing it again to yourself.
But how good that you get to see it. When you
Oh,
get to
yeah,
the point that you can see it.
mindfulness of me to kind of check myself, to kind of go, whoop, like that.
And it's very important. That's why it's important to have people, like, we go back to the quote, the Montaigne quote of, you need strong ears to hear yourself criticised from. You know, someone who judges us and who loves us,
Yeah.
and tells us frankly what we need to hear. Like,
Yeah, that's my business partner, that fucking
That's
hell.
important,
He triggers
isn't
me
it?
all the time when I want to smack him in the face. Just like, fuck you. But I'm just like, you know, you take yourself from a situation, he goes, you know, he's actually fucking probably right.
yeah, it's probably right.
Yeah.
And that's the perspective thing. You
Yeah.
shift your perspective, right? You change your perspective on things. I think that's like an important part of what I teach. I pride myself on the ability to maybe help people garner a new perspective. There's a great quote. Originally it was a physicist, and then Wayne Dyer took it on, and it's, you change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. You know, we can all view the same thing and have very differing views and opinions on it. The key to a lot of happiness and living our life in the way we should is the ability to see from someone else's perspective too, to see why they would feel this way. Why are they? We're very quick. I think the press is very quick to, and because it creates what they want to create.
Headlines.
Clickbait.
This is what it's going to be like.
Just to create people's opinions against each other. Because they want to create sides on something. And it's like there's no. That's not how you solve any issue with a fight. Like.
Well, I mean, doesn't that not go down to deism as well? It's like, look, there's is it the black snake and the white snake, and your trick is to walk through the middle of the balance of it and not pick a side. Is that right?
Well, Taoism is the yin yang.
Right. Yeah.
So that's like the teardrop.
Yeah.
The other
and
inside.
Getting the balance. Yeah.
And it's to say that all intrinsic parts, every opposite has its equal and opposite inside of it. Right, so like it's the teardrop with the little circle inside.
Yeah.
Right, that's the yin yang, that's Taoism. Right, that's understanding that everything's all encompassed within each other. Yeah. Right, that without the other one can't exist.
Finding balance.
Right, you can't exist without that against each other. I think being able to understand that having like fighting fire with fire just it leads to just chaos and destruction, right? Yeah. We can't live that way. That's not how we should be. It's just because people are manipulating you in this insidious way that they can go, right, you have this. Like we were saying about Andrew Tate. Yeah. Why are you even bothered? Yeah. Why are you getting involved in the thing of saying, I don't like this guy, or whoever it may be? Like, just whoever the person of that moment is. The press has always loved to vilify someone, haven't they, and bully someone, really. And then people jump on the bandwagon and get on. Not that maybe some people don't like to be seen that way, some like that press, don't they? They see it as a good thing to, no press is bad press, is it? Is that what they used to say? Yeah.
What does success look like to you, Tom? What the word success? What is that?
I have a lot of different takings on success, really, and I think it changes throughout your life of what you would gauge as success. Like my success is at the minute is my life is really happy. I'm surrounded by people I love and who love me, who want the best for me. I still strive for more, to be more, to give more, to grow all the time, and to just be in the present moment as much as possible, while still having goals and targets set. And I mean, success realistically would be to live the life that you want to live, wouldn't it? On a basic sense. Yeah. I have that many different quotes of people in my head of success, really successful people who are way more pertinent than I am, who can pass a message much better than me. So to me, I would just believe that being successful is living a life that you decided to design and consistently being on that path. I don't think you could be much more successful than that, and having the pleasure of enjoying the journey that you're on, as difficult as it may be, knowing that you're doing the things that you've decided you want to do. You've decided for this short time that you're here, are you following the path to where you wanted to get to, and enjoying each moment of it, or as much as you can, and understanding the teachings therein of each bit.
Beautiful, man. If somebody wanted to get hold of you, get your book, how do they get hold of you?
You get my book on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's Fearless by Design.
Yeah.
Or you just maybe if you type my name in, it'll just come up anyway. Or on Audible and Spotify and all the audio places. If you want to get me, Coach Tom Blackledge on Instagram and Facebook and website tomblackledge.com. And then if you want jiu-jitsu and things, then Fighter Blueprint Academy is where I coach MMA alongside other coaches there.
Where is the academy?
In Wigan.
Right, okay.
So we got a bespoke place. We have a charity as well, Ataraxia, which is like a mindfulness charity, and we do breathwork stuff and things for the community. And
amazing,
litter picks and stuff like that around. It's like there's an estate for like the elderly on there, so I like to make sure that they're all okay, and we check around the estate, and we clean up around the estate and that, and we offer like breathwork stuff and mindfulness stuff and different development courses through the charity too, and it's an amazing place. I'll have to invite you down.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
Yeah,
appreciate you, mate. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
honestly, beautiful
Thank
conversation. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best.